Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round, a very special round, Thanksgiving round of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krentzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks. Good afternoon, good evening,
afternoon.
good morning, wherever you are listening to us and when you're listening to us from and when. This is coming to you, as always, from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project.
Oh, yeah.
A special Thanksgiving episode here on the dial today, episode number 94, Noventa y Cuatro. If you're following on the Spanish dial, you can send your questions at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can do what a lot of you have done over the last week, and we're going to answer them today. Send us your questions via our Instagram handle at Mind Your Puckin' Business on the Instagram platform. We check that often. We had you guys submit in questions you wanted us to answer, and a lot of them, we can't get to all of them, of course, but a lot of them are coming up in the not too distant future. You can listen to us answer your questions or any parts of the show on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Facebook. So take your platform of choice.
Yes.
And you can find us.
Yes.
And I should say also, as cold weather now is officially in the Northeast, we were very greedy here. We had a week ago Saturday, we had 72 weather, 72-degree weather in November.
And then someone just turned it off.
The switch went off. The heat broke. And we're now in the winter. So I am rocking today. We promoted on the show the MYPB stuff that is available on the Bamboozle Project. You can go on and see plenty of gear available. I would probably not recommend the summer stuff on there right now, like the swimsuits and stuff. But I would recommend this winter hat that I am wearing. I assure you, it is the most comfortable winter hat you will ever have. I wore it this weekend at my kids' sporting events that were outside in the freezing cold. I was completely warm. I swear by this hat. We're not just trying to sell it. We don't make any money off it here, actually, to be honest with you. So
we're just doing it for the people.
We're doing it for the people. So go on to the bamboozleproject.com, use promo code MYPB, save yourself 25%. And if you're going to get anything, get this winter hat that I'm wearing. It does come in different colors, by the way.
That's what I was about to say. Not only do we have the sleek black one, which is awesome. You should get two hats. That one and the red one, the red and blue one, because you can double it for MYPB, but also when you go to the Giant game.
Yes.
Perfect
there you
colors.
Go.
Yeah.
Color combination. And now, did you go to the game the other day?
Unfortunately, yes.
You were there.
My butt off, and for no reason. It was the worst game I've ever saw in my entire life.
You know what? It's like you were rolling with going into these sporting events at MetLife the last couple of weeks that it was bound to happen. But all right, shifting gears. We'll get to football in a little bit. Paul Farrington will be with us a little bit shortly. Let's talk hockey. So the Rangers really haven't played too much since we were on last Tuesday. They played 2 games out on the West Coast. They were in Seattle at the Kraken on Thursday night, and they played against their old coach and friend David Quinn in San Jose on Saturday night. Now, I'm going to give full disclosure because the Saturday game, I didn't see the first half of the game because I was at a concert at MSG. So by the time I got home, it was a little bit late in the game. Here's what the takeaways are from these 2 games, because I did watch parts of what I missed, but I'm going to take the 2 games out on the West Coast. There's been a consistent theme, and I've said this here a lot, that this team is not putting the pedal down. They're getting points, and they've had 3 of the last possible 4 points on the West Coast. So I almost feel like it's hard to come on here and blast them for their play. And there were people that were not happy with their play in the West Coast. But when your team has an opportunity to have 4 points on the road, particularly on the West Coast, and you come away with 3, I have a hard time coming on here and just going ballistic about it. Now, there are things that you don't like. The offense is not playing well at all. Igor Shesterkin probably single-handedly got you those 3 or 4 points, because in the last 4 games, Igor is now 3-0-1 with a 1.733 goals against average. So if you had a average goalie and not an all-world goalie, you're probably not getting any points actually on the West Coast with the way they played. So a couple weeks ago, people wrote in, and I think I even mentioned it on the show, that we're saying, well, maybe Igor's not Igor. Relax. Look at the last 4 games. Igor is Igor. Now, the Rangers tonight will be on Southern California. They'll play in Los Angeles tonight, and they'll end their road trip tomorrow in Anaheim. One of these two games, Yaroslav Halak is going to play. I mean, again, Dan Rosen, I always allude to this when he was on the show with us in the preseason special. He said, look, they're already penciling Halak in for 20 to 25 starts. And if you know that, and you look at the schedule, you know that almost every single time there is a back-to-back, Halak's going to be for one of them. Now, Gerard Gallant is always very tight to the chest with giving out who's in goal for what game, so he's not going to tell you in advance. But my logic would maybe be that Igor would play tonight, and then you have Halak play tomorrow against the lesser offensive team. It also gives Igor a little bit of rest going into Saturday when they play Edmonton, where he probably will see a ton of action. So the Rangers, again, it's not panic mode. You know, we're not coming in here with a red siren and setting it off and all that stuff. But I think there's things you need to be concerned about. Now, I said last week, and we did this, that we were going to open up today's show for viewer questions. Send them in. Thank you guys for sending in the amount of questions that you did. We're not going to be able to get to all of them, but I'm going to get to a bunch of them. And what I tried to do, if there were two questions that were kind of similar, kind of condense it into one. So if you don't hear your question that you submitted in and you kind of hear it like, well, there was another angle to it, but it sounds familiar, it probably is. All right. So let's start here. And this is going to be what I think is the biggest take here today. And the most popular question that we got was about number 13, Alexis Lafrenière. Right now, if you subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, wherever, I have been incredibly consistent with Alexis Lafrenière this season, last season. I have never wavered in my belief of what should happen. As a recap, if you're new to the show, and I doubt you are, but if you are, welcome, and we appreciate the listenership. Alexis Lafrenière came here on a hot, blazing Monday afternoon in August of 2020 via the draft lotto, where the Rangers got lucky and got him. And the Rangers...
He was escorted by Moses, by the way.
He was escorted by Moses, as was Gary Bettman to select the lottery ball from the machine. And when Alexis Lafrenière came here, he was billed to us. Now, maybe it was right or wrong. You know, you're not going to hold someone's expectation in stone at that point when they're 19 years old, that you may be getting a generational talent. Okay. Now, Alexis Lafrenière has come here, and let me just spell or spew facts for a minute. If you were getting the generational talent that you thought you were going to get, okay, and you're now looking at year 4 for him, or year 3, actually, year 3 for him, and you look at what you have stat-wise, you would look on paper and say, he's not the generational talent that we thought we were going to get. And you would have an argument. But one of our listeners, and he's probably writing comments. I don't know if you guys can switch to the comment section so we can see if he is. Pointed this out to me the other day, and it's a very important stat, and it's Alexis Lafrenière. In the past 3 years, so we're talking the last 2 seasons and what we have had so far of the 2022-2023 season, you have Artemi Panarin, you have Mika Zibanejad, you have Chris Kreider, you have all of these guys, Capo Caco, whoever you want to throw in the equation, you have them. Okay. Who is leading the Rangers out of all of them, including over 50 goal scorer Chris Kreider last year? Who is leading the Rangers in 5-on-5 goals?
I mean, you kind of laid it up pretty nicely.
Lafrenière. So if Lafrenière is your top 5-on-5 goal scorer, I have 2 questions for you. Why is he not playing on the top line on 5-on-5? And why is he not getting more power play minutes? So I give Chris, who listens a lot and sends in questions, a great stat there. So to answer the viewer's question, where is he and am I disappointed in him? Yes, I would like to see more production. But I'm also, if I'm going to answer that question, I'm also disappointed in the coaching staff, in the positions, not that they're putting Lafrenière in, but more the positions that they're not putting him in. Lack thereof. Exactly. If he is leading your team in 5-on-5 goals, why is he not? Why is he on the third line still? What does this guy need to do to be given a chance to play on the first line? And you cannot tell me right now that we're not putting him on the first line because we don't want to break up what Zibanejad and Kreider have. They suck right now, right? They suck. So it's not like, well, you know what? I'm sorry. We don't have anywhere to move you up because everyone else is doing well and we don't want to disrupt that. That would be a fair argument, but you can't make that argument right now. So am I disappointed in Lafrenière? Yes. But I think part of this is also due to the situations he's not being put in. The longer that this offensive struggle continues for the Rangers and lack of offensive production, I guess in that case, the odds will go up that Lafrenière can maybe finally move up to top line minutes and also get more power play time.
And not just his top line, the
top line left wing, which is what was just written in by someone. And that's exactly what I'm saying. In specific, Chris Kreider. You can't tell me that Chris Kreider right now, with the way he's playing, deserves to be on the top line any more than Alexis Lafrenière. It's not working with Chris Kreider. Give it up and change it, right? Stop sticking to your guys that you love. And it's fine you love Chris Kreider. He was great last year, but we're not in last year anymore, right? It's time to switch it up. All right, next question.
Wait, before you go, why not put him in the 5-on-5 situation? On the first line. He doesn't have to be on the power play. If other people are producing better on the power play, keep them on the power play.
I would rather. So that's fine. I would rather that. If you told me you were only going to make one move with Alexis Lafrenière and you were either going to move him to the top line on the left wing or give him more power play minutes, I'd rather him on the 5-on-5 because they need to produce on 5-on-5. Yeah. He's their number one goal scorer the last 3 years on 5-on-5. Why is he playing on the third line?
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
It makes zero sense.
I mean, think about it. It really doesn't. So, all right, next question. Has Julien Gauthier solidified a spot in the lineup? The answer there is yes. Here's why. He's played well, but I'm going to answer that question with another question. Who else on the Rangers right now could take his spot that's not in the lineup? Right? I mean, you could argue Drayden Hunt, but he's now in Colorado. He's not there anymore. Who are you going to call up that would be a better fit for Julien Gauthier? So he's played well. He had the great goal in San Jose the other night on the deflection. He's had some flashes. He had a goal in the Dallas game back at the end of October that was outstanding. He had another one in Arizona. So, I mean, he's shown flashes. You wish he was more consistent, but right now, I don't know who else you're going to put in the lineup instead of Julien Gauthier. You kind of have to. So I would say, yes, he is solidified a spot in his lineup. All right, next question. What is the price going to be to get Patrick Kane here? So here's what we know, or what we know by doing some investigating, right? Patrick Kane has been kind of rumored to the Rangers and other teams and all that stuff, and maybe leaving Chicago for, I would say, the past 6 to 9 months. Dougie Sticks, where is he still playing right now? Chicago. Right. Yeah. Why? Because the price tag for him has to be high. If the price tag that Chicago wanted in return is not anything astronomical, Patrick Kane is not wearing a Chicago Blackhawks sweater today, and he still is. So that should tell you right now that the price that Chicago, and rightly so, they have a right to ask for that in return, is going to be high. So what is the price in terms of the Rangers? Well, there were a couple rumors last week. I don't really believe Bleacher Report. It's not my favorite site out there. But there was a report out there that the Rangers would have to give up Kako and a first rounder. I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing that especially for someone that could be a rental. I think if you're the Rangers and you're serious about getting Patrick Kane, which I don't think would happen till later in the season if it were to happen at all, I think if it's something that you were serious about, you would have to have him signed longer than what his contract is currently.
Is that a possibility? So when they make this like rental trades, can you add stipulations that he has to sign a contract for?
Well, you could do it in advance. Yeah, you could have something worked out in advance. You're not, and really whatever NHL team is going to trade for Patrick Kane, I would think would do that. Yeah. Now, he will be most likely the prized rental, and some team is going to look at their playoff situation in March when the trade deadline is, or end of February, and say, look, we have a chance to add a Hall of Famer on the right wing here to make a run for the Cup this year. Someone is going to get him. If Chicago is dead set on getting rid of him, which it sounds like they are, so he will be playing for someone else. But if I'm the Rangers, I'm really leery here of giving up too much. Now, you want to tell me you can try and give more draft picks than current players and not first rounders? Okay. Maybe that's something that I take a look at, but the price on him is high. Will be high. Last question we're going to get to, and then we'll get to our guest. Overall, how is Panarin doing, and what does he need to work on more? When I saw this question, I'll say on a personal note, I laughed because there's someone that he doesn't listen to the show that talks to me about the Rangers all the time, and he's just hard on Panarin, and it was like this question was coming from him. But look, I don't think you can get on Panarin. Look at his point production, although it's slowed down a little bit. But the offense as a whole has slowed down. So, Panarin is going to go as the offense goes, right? I mean, there's going to be certainly a correlation. The Rangers are scoring a lot of goals, then Panarin's going to have a lot of points. If the offense as a whole is not scoring a lot, Panarin's not going to have a lot of points. I think defensively you would like to see more. I think that's been an argument on him. I mean, you do see certain plays with him in the defensive zone that you wish maybe weren't as nonchalant, if you will, maybe a little bit more aggressive and getting the puck out. But Panarin is doing fine. Panarin is not the problem right now on this team. If you're going to sit here and look for the things that need to be fixed or rectified or where there are problems, chances are you're not going to settle on Artemi Panarin as the problem. I can name 10 or 15 other players that I think are more that would need more attention right now than Artemi Panarin.
I agree.
Yes, you do.
I do.
Because
I agree with everything you said.
When it comes to the Rangers, man, it don't matter what I say. You will agree. You and your Ranger expertise.
Absolutely.
So we thank you for submitting in your questions. Keep them coming. We will try to include, and I know I said this to people, and we're going to try and do it. We're going to work on getting more of your viewer questions in every week. So feel free to send them in. We will take them. We will try to condense 2 of them together like we did in a couple of those, particularly with Lafrenière. I was shocked in how many questions came in on Lafrenière specifically. I would say
the people what they want.
Let me say this. I was surprised. I was shocked, not surprised.
Is it one of those things where like he doesn't want to do it because it's going to work out and he'll make it look like he's wrong?
Gerard Gallant, and that's a good question. So one of the hot takes on Gerard Gallant is he rides his guys and he doesn't play the youngsters. Now, another argument, and I just made it for Lafrenière for the last 5 minutes, is Kakko, right? These guys are young, high-level draft picks. Are they guaranteed to work out and be superstars in the league? No, they're not. But you're not going to know if they're superstars in the league or who they really are unless they're given the opportunity to play top-line minutes with top-line guys. So, and look, Kakko also this season, who's played on the top-line right wing, has been better. Now, has he been great? No. But he's looked as good as he's done. Why? Because he's playing with better players.
True.
So, all right, we're going to shift gears. Well, we'll shift gears. We're going to still stay on the hockey front here for a minute here. We're going to bring in Paul Farrington. You know Paul. He's on us a lot with NFL Talk, and you can watch him on his show, Paul Farrington Show, on his Instagram page as well. Hello, Paul. How are you?
Good. How about you guys?
We are good. So I'm going to, before we shift gears to the NFL with you, I think it's only fitting and fair that we take another NHL topic right now and we'll get to your background on it.
Well, I think he needs a standing ovation.
I'm not going to stand up, but we have. I mean, we really have to salute you. Paul was on the show. Now, Paul comes on a lot in football, and then we kind of have like a mutual divorce for like 7 months, where he comes on occasionally and talks off season, and then we kind of reconvene. So
maybe not anymore since he's making these predictions. Here.
So Paul is on the show back in October, his last appearance on the show. And said to us, and there's a clip of this in Instagram, that the Devils, who I think the night previously beat Anaheim at home, and it may have been their first win of the year or second, said, don't get too excited about the Rangers. The Devils are about to go on a streak. And okay, you're a Devil fan. You're entitled to think that they'll go 82-0, right? There was no reason or data to support this claim, like at all, except, as I said in the clip, that he's a homer. He's a Devil fan.
Well, Jeff, I like to think I have like a sixth sense with this sort of thing.
So Paul says this, right? Now and I'm sorry, Paul, I'm going to be honest with you here. You said it. I totally forgot about it because in my head, I'm like, all right, the dude's being a homer. Why would I take that seriously? The Devils last night beat Edmonton at home and have won their 13th game in a row.
That's crazy.
The Devils have not lost since October 24th. The New Jersey Devils, I mean, like the New Jersey Devils, who I cannot stand. I hate more than any professional sports team, any of the sports. I cannot stand the Devils, but I'm going to be fair and subjective. So let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Now, I've watched the Devils, particularly the last 2 weeks while this has been going on. Is it Vanacek in goal, who I said was a great pickup from them from Washington, but I didn't expect this. Is it Jack Hughes having another year? Is it Jesper Bratt all of a sudden what is it Dougie Hamilton? What is it?
I think that sometimes you just catch lightning in a bottle, Jeff. I really think that's what it is. And sometimes these young teams, all of a sudden, when everyone starts to figure it out at once and you build momentum, people start playing off each other. Like, I don't watch a ton of Devils hockey. I'm not the biggest fan in the world, Playoff time, I think playoff hockey, like the casual fan, is fantastic. But from what I've seen, it just seems like this is a team of young guys who are all building off each other and are getting hot at early in the season. Hopefully, they can continue it. I'm starting to think 79-3 is in play, but
Yeah,
I know it's
sure.
a little early for that. But I'm starting to think that we could be looking at a perfect run
Can
here to
you
finish this season.
put up now? I'm gonna. Someone's writing in, and this is fair because I'm. Yes, can you put that up because it's gonna make me look bad? Told someone yesterday.
Oh,
I said a couple people actually to take Edmonton money line last night with the theory, and I did take Edmonton. The theory was in the NHL, a lot of times when teams return from a long trip, their first game back at home, they're flat, and Edmonton was starting out a road trip. Now, Edmonton, did you watch last night, Paul?
I did.
Okay, so Edmonton played well, and then it was 1-1 in the second, and the goalie completely just whiffed on a puck that Nico Hischier fired at the net and Mercer put in on a goalie mistake. But give them credit. I mean, with the Devils, this is – so we're going to have you on, Paul, before we're going to go to football now, but I think you're now a Devil fan. And I should also say, next week, I'm going to tease this. Now, plans change. We will have, for the first time in the history of Mind Your Fucking Business, and this is not something I am proud of nor looking forward to, but because we give the people what they want, we will have a Devils reporter as our guest next week. We are scheduled to have a New Jersey Devil inside reporter, which is going to be enormously painful for me. I mean, enormously brutal for me to do.
Changing the game.
And next Tuesday when we are on, the night before Monday night, is Devils and Rangers at MSG. So you want to tune in for that next week.
Good
stuff. All
stuff.
right, Paul. Let's go to our bread and butter here, which is football.
Maybe I'm not so sure.
I'm
not so sure. I might be making the switch myself.
Yes, you may now be. You may have an NHL podcast debuting after the new year. All right, let's start here, and I'm going to start and not make you happy. We're going to start in the NFC. The other day, in my picks, I said last week, how would I not take the Vikings -1.5? This is a joke. The Cowboys just lost in Lambeau. The Vikings have been on a roll. Was it so, and I didn't watch it, but I saw the score. Was it so bad that game the other day that the message from Minnesota is we're taking this game tape and we're just pretending it never happened? Or are there now really things to be concerned of?
There are things to be concerned of, and I'll say the week leading up to the game, following that Bills game, all the hype surrounding that, game of the year. I released a short on my Instagram page and everything for our channel, just how I was buying into the Vikings. I put on a Viking helmet. Yeah, I think to win a Super Bowl, you really do need everyone to buy in. Now, maybe not me like a fan, but you need everyone to believe. Even with a cursed team like the Vikings, you can't win if you don't think you can do it. So I was doing my part, saying I believed, and of course this is how you get rewarded, a 40-3 game. It was an utter beatdown, Jeff. It was an absolutely crushing game for Vikings fans and for Cowboys fans. I mean, now they have their eyes on the Super Bowl. I think that the Vikings can take this tape and just burn it. Dallas is a really good team. They got a lot of pressure on Kirk Cousins. There are absolutely things you can learn from this. I don't think it shows the Vikings as being, maybe the 5th or 6th best team in the NFC, and they were secretly on this hot streak. I still view them as a top 5, top 4 NFC contender. They just, I mean, it was not their day on Sunday.
So, all right. So NFC contenders was my next question. That's a great lead-in. If I look at the two conferences and what Vegas thinks says who's going to win the NFC and who's going to win the NFC, the AFC, as it probably should, the Bills and the Chiefs are both plus 215. And then the next team is the Ravens a long way away. So Vegas certainly feels, and I would agree with them, that, chances are who's ever representing the AFC in the Super Bowl in Arizona in February is coming from Kansas City or Buffalo. The NFC is a completely different story where, who knows what you want to believe. Now, I said, I don't know if it was not a clip of this, but I said this last week. We played a kind of a game here, and it was exposing the Eagles, right? They had just lost the night before to the Commanders, to which we had gone through their schedule, and they'd only played weak teams. This weekend, they go and they play Jeff Saturday in the Colts and are down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and come back to win. Yes, you got to win, but it wasn't overly impressive, right? I am not buying the Eagles at all. The team now, and maybe last night there's something to be said, is San Francisco now the favorite in the NFC?
I would still say Philadelphia, because in all likelihood they're going to get the 1 seed, and I don't want to go into Philly. If I'm playing, I don't want to go into Philly and play in that crowd, that environment. It's cold there in the wintertime. Like that is another world. Getting Philly on the road is completely different from getting them in their building. So I still favor them at the moment. But San Francisco, hard not to put them right behind Philadelphia as the second favorite, if not co-favorite at the moment.
The third favorite in the NFC right now is Dallas is totally interesting, right? Because Dallas, obviously, what happened in Minnesota this past weekend, that's Exhibit A. But Exhibit B is what we saw the week before in Lambeau, right? So you don't know. It's somewhat Jekyll and Hyde. We were talking here with our executive producer, Pat, in the corner, who's a Giant fan, that the spread this week, you have the Giants now getting 9 in Dallas, which to me is a lot of points. I don't know if the Giants will win, but it's a lot of points. So it almost is like that game this weekend has tilted the spread because your game, Minnesota's game, is one of my picks this weekend. I don't know how you're only giving 2.5 at home. I mean, if you can't cover 2.5 at home versus the Patriots, who needed a punt return to beat the Jets when they couldn't even complete a first down the entire game. I mean, that one game has changed a lot of spreads. So in the AFC, would you agree? I would assume that it's going to be Buffalo or Kansas City, most likely.
I like Buffalo and Kansas City, but guys, I really like Miami too. I think Miami is the third best team. I really don't think it's that close at the moment. Tua is playing at an MVP level. I can see them going and stealing the game, potentially in the divisional round. It's hard to pick Miami to go to the Super Bowl, but I wouldn't be surprised if they found a way to the championship game. That could be a little bit of a hot take, but I like the Dolphins.
Yeah, you know what I mean. One thing with a player is Tyreek Hill, right? We all thought that here's a guy that he's a product of Andy Reid's system. He's playing with Patrick Mahomes, and he's not getting doubled because they have Kelsey there. And here he goes to Miami, and he's just been great. And Tua's been great. I mean, you got to give him credit, right?
They can win the division.
Miami, they can win the division. Yeah. They're tied in the division now, although they still have to play up in Buffalo. That'll be the game. Both tied. That's going to be that'll be the game. But the thing to me that you like if you're a Dolphin fans or Dolfreaky, who was on our show a couple weeks ago, is they can do this again. This is not probably a flash in the pan. They're going to be good for a while there in Miami. And if they improve the defense in the coming years, they may be really good on both sides of the ball. All right, local stuff. This weekend, I watched the Jet game. I don't know why, but I did. I watched it, and I think because it was Jets-Patriots, I get into it a little bit. I went to school in Boston, so Jets-Patriots is kind of like a good game for me. This was, I don't know if you watched this. This was the most boring NFL game I have watched in 42 years. It was awful. Both sides of the ball. Zach Wilson, by the way, at what point now, if you're the Jets, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm asking this as a question that I don't know the answer, but at what point do you move on or you start thinking you have to move on?
Look,
Zach Wilson.
The Zach Wilson, it was really the post-game stuff that got me. Do you see all that? The interview was saying no to letting the defense down.
Yeah. With
the quarterback position, there comes an elevated level of fame, of money, leadership in the locker room. It reminds me of Spider-Man almost. With great power comes great responsibility. You got to be held accountable for your actions. And at the end of the day, when he says, I didn't let the defense down, or we didn't let the defense down as an offense, I look at that and I say, how I actually audibly said, how can you say no? You had 2 yards in the second half.
Right.
How can you possibly not think that?
And the other thing with that, not that there needs any more evidence for that statement, but the Jets defense didn't even let up. It was special teams, right? It was a punt return. The Jet defense let up 3 points. And that's got to be enough on any given day.
They were awesome. I went back. I watched the tape on the game. They were incredible the whole day.
Right. And you have now Garrett Wilson unhappy. When you make comments like that in a locker room, the problem with that is you lose respect from guys in your own room, and it's hard to get it back. And sometimes the only way to get it back is to earn it back by performing, right? And I don't know that this guy's going to perform and get it back. So if you're, I'm about to jump off the Zach Wilson train. I'll leave it at that. I'm close. I'm still on it because I'm going to give a glimmer of hope, but I don't know how you can get excited. And my partner over here, who loved Sam Darnold, this is the number one Sam Darnold fan in the world over here, has got to be laughing at this.
What do you want him back? You want Sam back?
I'm just tired, and it's not even about Sam. It's about Aaron. It's about Aaron Rodgers, Sam Donald. You have these good quarterbacks that you got to surround them with good pieces, but you rather keep drafting quarterbacks.
What Doug is, and what his mindset is, and he's right to throw in the Aaron Rodgers. Doug is a defender. There's nothing wrong with this, or right or wrong. It's just what you are, of quarterbacks, right? And he says if you're an elite quarterback, when he's right? Like if you're Aaron Rodgers, and look, none of us like Aaron Rodgers. I don't like him. I know you don't, Paul. But you've got to surround him when he's in his prime with receivers. Devontae Adams is now gone. 2 touchdowns this past weekend.
Doesn't
do the Packers any good. What?
Look at Tua right now.
Yeah, look at Tua. Right. Surrounding people. And so there's a good argument. All right. We had a guest on last week, Nikki. Don't know if you saw her clips.
I did. Those are great.
You did. I'm glad you liked them. So Daniel Jones was one of the clips that went out, and we had asked her, do you think next year in 2023, Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback? She was very definitive. If you watch the clip, there's no hesitation. Yes, he will. The Giants, if you are looking in your crystal ball, do you think next year Daniel Jones is the starter for the New York Giants?
I do. Barring an epic collapse and a missed playoff appearance, I think DJ will get the job. I wouldn't be surprised if, you always got to keep your options open. I would be surprised if the Giants drafted a quarterback, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try and bring in someone to kind of push him over the course of training camp. He's had a good season. Overall, you can't really complain too much. And talk about someone who needs weapons, guys. Who's he throwing to right now? Really,
right. That's
if you're not a Giants fan, I don't think you can name 3 receivers on the Giants.
That is, and that got worse on an injury front this week, and that may also be why this line on Thanksgiving Day is +9, and that is a lot of points. So, Paul, we thank you as always. So now we usually have you on for football, but if this Devil stuff continues, you may become our Devil's insider.
Guys, I'll do the best I can. I might only be good for a couple predictions here or there, and just hope that they can stay hot. But
now the Devil schedule coming up, just so you know, right? Because you play in a lot, and eventually, I'm not saying anything anyone doesn't know. Eventually, it's going to end, right? I mean, teams don't go 79.
I don't know.
So you're home tomorrow versus the Maple Leafs, but then you have a back-to-back over the weekend. Back-to-backs are hard. You're on the road Friday in Buffalo, and then home Saturday night versus the Caps. Now, if the streak continues and they win versus Toronto tomorrow night, well, actually, I'll say this about tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, the Rock will be electric because it's the night before Thanksgiving and you're on a 13-game win streak. And the Rock sold out last night on a Monday in November, which is unheard of, right? Unless it was the Rangers in town. The Rock doesn't sell out on a Monday night. So if it can get to Saturday when you're home versus the Caps, that place would be like a playoff atmosphere in there. It would be a fun building to be in. And then on Monday night, you go across the river to play the big bad Rangers. So we will see what happens, Paul.
Win.
Win.
I love the hat, by the way, guys. That's a great great beanie there.
You need one. Now, I've said this here, and we can talk about it off air. It is literally the world's most comfortable winter hat. I was at my kids' stuff all weekend. It is the world's most comfortable winter hat there is. It's awesome. Go find one.
Yeah, I will. I think I will.
Promo code MYPB, you get 25%.
Yeah, it's so worth it. And you can support your hockey podcast.
I think I'm going to use the promo code too. See, guys, that's how it's done right there. Well, we didn't even plan on that.
Right. The guys at Undefeated Media, they're really smart people. Thanks, Paul. Be well. Have a good Thanksgiving, my friend.
You guys too. Happy Thanksgiving.
So that is Paul Farrington. You know him from the Paul Farrington Show. And weekly picks. Last week, entered week 11. We were 8-2. Had a winning week, barely, but winning weeks count. Money, like if you'd rather win money than lose money. We had the Texans +2.5 at home versus Washington. Had that wrong. Had the Vikings +1.5 at home versus Dallas. Only missed that by 37 points. Had that one wrong. But then the other ones we had correct. We had the Raiders +2.5 at Denver. They won the game in overtime. We had the Colts +7.5 at home versus Philly. They lost by 1. And then we had Carolina +11.5 at Baltimore, and they got 10 points. They lost by 10. So another winning week on the podcast. So let's go with our Thanksgiving edition of Mind Your Puckin' Business Week 12 picks. I like the Vikings -2.5 at home versus the Pats. I love this game. I don't know why. It's all right. So let's think about this. Thursday night, the Vikings need to respond. Were humiliated. It was a disaster. The Pats are not that good. It took a punt return in the last second of the game to beat a Jets team that couldn't even do anything offensively.
Mhm.
And the Vikings are home. If the Vikings cannot cover 2.5, I don't want to hear anything about the Vikings being for real. I'm done. Like, they're off my list. Give me the Vikings minus 2.5 at home versus the Pats on Thanksgiving night. I like the Bears plus 4.5 at the Jets. I just don't see a situation where all of a sudden the offense clicks and the Jets score a lot of points. Now, the coach of the Jets said, rightly so, I don't know if Zach Wilson's our quarterback this week, but if it's Joe Flacco or Mike White, I don't know that I'm betting the house that he's going to put up a ton of points either.
Mhm.
4.5 is a lot, and Justin Fields has been a lot better than he was in the beginning of the season. Give me the Bears plus 4.5 on the road at MetLife against the Jets. I like the Ravens minus 4 at Jacksonville. This spread is a little bit confusing to me when I first saw it. The Ravens are playing well. The offense was not great this past weekend. I expect them to be better. Jacksonville is not that good. Ravens 4 points is not a lot to cover when you have guys like Lamar Jackson and Andrews over there. Give me the Ravens minus 4 at Jaguars. Rematch of the AFC playoff game last year. The Titans plus 1.5 at home versus Cincy. The Titans need this game. Derrick Henry is quietly having a ridiculously good season. Look at his stats. I only know that because he's on my fantasy team. Last week, he ran for a touchdown and also randomly threw for a touchdown. Give me the Titans and basically what is a pick 'em, but I get a little bit of coverage, plus 1.5 at home versus Cincy. The last game, the Sunday night game, give me the Packers plus 7 at Philly. I think Aaron Rodgers and company finds a way to keep it close. The Packers have played a little bit better lately, and Philly, as we've talked about, has not been as impressive as their record is. 7 is a lot of points. Aaron Rodgers will not be intimidated by the cold weather at all on Sunday night in Philly. Give me the Packers plus 7. So I like the Vikings minus 2.5 at home versus the Pats on Thanksgiving night. I like the Bears plus 4.5 at the Jets. The Ravens minus 4 at Jacksonville. The Titans plus 1.5 at home in Nashville versus Cincy. And I like the Packers on Sunday night getting 7 at Philadelphia. Good for you?
Sounds good to me.
We will pick the other game, not in our weekly picks. The Jets were in the 5, so we'll pick the Thanksgiving game, which is the Cowboys and the Giants.
Mhm.
Giants getting plus 9. Your thoughts, sir?
Give me the Giants. Riding the train, baby.
I like the Giants plus 9 for a couple of reasons. One, it's a lot of points. 2, traditionally, I have a memory. We could go back and look. But the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, I remember them losing to, was it the Raiders a couple years ago? They lost to the Bills. They've lost to the Commanders at home. They just don't play that well on Thanksgiving, and it may just be the short week, right? So if I'm going on that theory,
Yeah.
9's a lot of points. And Brian Dable, right?
Yeah.
As good as he's been, and look, the dude's allowed, the team's allowed to have a bad day, right? And that's what Sunday was.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you had to sit through it. But if you're Brian Dable, he's probably going to have the team ready to play and fired up. They're going to come out, and they still got Saquon, right?
Well, they were off this last week. They didn't show up to the game.
Right, they did.
On Sunday, so they had more time to recover.
They're coming off.
They didn't show up at all.
They're coming off their bye week. So
Yes.
there is some Thanksgiving football. If you are into eating on Thanksgiving,
Yes.
you have that. And if you're into football, you have the combination of stuff where you can watch football as well. So we wish you a good Thanksgiving, and we thank you here as always. The amount of viewers that this program has gotten in 2 years and 2 months or whatever it's been is strange. The amount of questions we get and the feedback we get. We give a lot of thanks to you, the listener, whether you listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, if you're one of the subscribers there, if you're a social media follower and you send us questions, if you're one of our thousands of YouTube people that watch the show, we thank you. This show is really nothing without our listeners. So to you, especially, we give our thanks and we wish you a good Thanksgiving with your family.
Absolutely.
Our executive producer, Pat, had a good idea before we go to do a little game called the Mount Rushmore of Thanksgiving food.
Okay.
4 things you could put on your Mount Rushmore.
I got one.
Well, you need 3 more, but start with your 1.
We're not going to together come up with 4?
No,
All
go
right,
ahead.
I'll give you mine first.
Oh, we could do. You know what? That's fine. Let's do that. It'll make it easier.
First and foremost, the sweet potatoes with the marshmallows on top and the peaches and stuff in there.
I will agree with you on the first thing. I just disagree on the topping, but we'll just say sweet potatoes for sure is number 1 on the list. Number 2, I actually think it's hard. Whatever is second is a distant second from the sweet potatoes, right? Like
yeah.
sweet potatoes really are number one. I'm not a turkey guy. Sorry, over there in the corner. I am not a turkey guy. Never have been. Don't really think my wife cares for it that much either, nor my kids. I am going to go. Oh, what am I thinking? Pie, pumpkin and pecan pie.
Okay.
100. Well, that was easy.
Okay, I'll allow it.
So go ahead. Thanks for allowing it.
I agree with you. Like I eat the turkey. I like the turkey, but it's not like, oh my God,
Right.
where's the turkey? The sweet potatoes are definitely number one. I like the pie. I don't know. I think we need something buttery on there, like some like corn smothered in butter, or like a baked potato with butter and gravy and something like that. You know what I mean? I think we need just a little bit more butter on our cholesterol. For this
I will throw on with you because it is one of the things that I make for Thanksgiving: cream corn. Yeah. So there you go. You get your corn and it's butter and sugar and cream cheese. Very easy thing to make. So we need one more. We have sweet potatoes. We have like pies. We have corn, butter. Is it cheap? Is it fair if I put on ice cream that I put on pie, or I need something different? Right?
No, you know what? That's clumped with the pie.
Yeah. All right. You know what I'm going to do?
That's a unit.
I'm going to do it. And this is a good food, but it's not the best food, but it's a good food. It belongs on there. Okay. And the last stuffing. I can deal with the stuffing. Yeah, stuffing. So our MYPB Mount Rushmore of Thanksgiving food is sweet potatoes and then pie, pumpkin or pecan, or both in my case.
Yeah.
We'll say cream corn, something with corn and butter.
Yeah.
And then fourth, we'll go with stuffing. I like it. It's pretty solid.
And the turkey is a given. Like, it doesn't have to be on the Mount Rushmore.
I don't need
it. It's like, you go have a nice dinner, you're obviously going to have a drink with it. You know what I mean?
Well, speak for yourself on that.
Not an alcoholic drink. I'm just saying, like, you need something to wash it down. It's a given you're going to drink something. But
now, do you, for this year, because now you are the world's #1 Giant fan because you go to every Giant game.
Yes.
And since the Giants are playing at 4:30, do your in-laws know that they need to plan the mealtime around Thanksgiving?
So this is going to be an issue. This is going to be an issue. It's going to be an issue. But so I because like when it's family time, everyone likes to have the TV off and whatever. This is going to be an issue because it's during dinner time that the game is on. So I'm going to be wearing my jersey. Like I'll wear like a nice Thanksgiving button down.
So
when the game comes on, the jersey's going on.
Okay, so now let's like fast forward to the moment that you are eating dinner.
Yes. Well, I might send a group text to the family like, hey, I understand it's Thanksgiving, but a very important Cowboy game is on. Giants versus the Cowboys. Very important game is on at 4:30. So plan accordingly.
Plan accordingly. All right. I like it. So
if you want me in the other room, if you want me eating early, if you want me eating late, you let me know what you want. But some way, shape, or form, we'll be watching that game and screaming at it. So
there you go. Well, we wish you out there, whatever it is, if you wherever you go for Thanksgiving, whether you're into football, there is no hockey on Thanksgiving, but whatever you do, we wish you nothing but the best with your family and football and food and all of that good stuff. We will be back next week. Again, you can send your questions as always to mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can use the Instagram handle @mindyourpuckinbusiness. Very happy that we were able to get in some of your viewer questions today. We will work on getting them in again. Feel free to submit them and tune in next week. It'll be actually the Rangers will finish up their West Coast in LA tonight, Anaheim tomorrow, and come back to the East Coast to play a matinee game that is actually a really hot ticket right now on Saturday at the Garden against Connor McDavid and the Oilers. And then Monday night, the red hot New Jersey Devils cross the Lincoln Tunnel to play the New York Rangers. So that will be exciting as well. Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody, and enjoy your week.